set. It's In Goal Radio, the podcast coming at you, presented by the source for sports Surrey, the Hockey Shop, thehockeyshop.com, as we broadcast from Vegas, the Lower Mainland, and Vancouver Island to goaltenders everywhere throughout the wide world of this great position and this journey inside the crease. Today, we are going to chat with a couple of goaltenders at very different parts of their careers. One is an EBUG playing Canadian college hockey, and the other one is a veteran in the American Hockey League after a pretty good time in the NHL. And what a wild route that Kevin Poulin has taken. The other person of interest is Taylor Joseph, who is just got this crazy cool story in Vancouver with the Abbotsford Canucks. Let's bring in the co-founders of In Goal magazine, David Hutchison, Kevin Woodley. Woody, you're fresh off assignment covering a Vancouver Canucks game, and Hutch has just been hanging out, waiting for us to get to work.
I don't know. I think we're both off assignment. I got to spend 3 days over on the Lower Mainland and hang out with Woody, so I had a great week.
How was that?
It was pretty awesome. We got to go see Cam over at the Hockey Shop and spend a little time together. We got to head out to Abbotsford and catch up with our good friend Marco Marciano and the Laval Rocket and their two goaltenders. And it's always good. We get productive when we're together and when we remember to hit record on the old podcast recorder.
You guys do tend to get distracted when you're together.
We get a little excited.
Woody?
We get a little excited. No hot tub this time, though.
No, we didn't need that type of distraction. That's for sure. Although coming back after covering a game tonight, I almost did my end of this recording in the hot tub, but I figured I could put up with you guys for a little while before I get out there.
We want to congratulate Eve Gascon from the Gatineau Olympics. She just stepped in and got this opportunity and we knew at some point that she was going to get this start. But what a performance, picking up a 7-3 win. Very rare that a woman goes in there and wins a game in the QMJHL, Woody.
First time since Charlene Labonte in, I believe it was 2000, for a female goaltender to win in the Q. So congratulations, like you said. And it was pretty cool. Like, we put it on social media. Just seeing the reception, like massive crowd and very much into it and into her performance. And she was first star and huge ovation. And then she goes into the locker room and everybody's showering her in water, and just kind of a big moment for her and obviously for women's hockey as well. As much as we focus a lot on, and we'll segue here. A belated congratulations, and our guest next week from the PHF will be Katie Burt of the Isabel Cup champion Boston Pride. So a couple big moments in women's hockey over the past week, and we'll have Katie on next week, and congratulations to Eve as well.
I didn't realize it had been 22 years
That's a long
since
time.
Charlene had done it. That's wild.
It doesn't feel like it should take that long.
No.
There've been a lot of really solid young female goaltenders, and let's hope it doesn't take another 22 years. Let's hope the door is open. Because I don't think there's enough opportunities at this level for young women to play high level hockey. I mean, right now we're seeing all this work towards a legitimate professional league for women, and they really need that legitimate opportunity at the junior level as well. So it's great that Eve could take this on, and I hope that we get to see a few more in the future soon.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of Anne-Renee Desbiens, and obviously winning a gold medal with the Canadian Olympic team in just last month or 2022 over in Beijing. But the story she told us about coaches, in junior and
Yes.
in bantam and midget, just not giving her an opportunity because they didn't want to, in her words or in their words to her, waste their time developing a female goaltender. So hopefully, like, some of those archaic attitudes are out the door as we start to see more and more success stories like this.
That's awesome stuff. Today's gear segment is revolving around the SLR3 model with Vaughn and Hutch. What was it like being in the room as Woody and Cam broke things down?
It was an awesome experience. I feel like we should sell tickets so that people can watch these two guys both at various times sort of going squirrel and heading down in another direction. I mean, just for some perspective, every week Woody drives out to the Hockey Shop. They get about an hour together before the shop opens up, and typically they get through 1 week of material. And with Dad in the room, they got 3 weeks of material and a whole bunch of other sort of aside things that we'll be using for other bits and pieces too. So when somebody can contain the two boys we're able to get a lot of work done. I think what we are presenting in video is going to look a little bit better because, to be fair, Woody is wearing a whole lot of hats when he's in there doing the squirrel routine, because he's producer, he's director, he's cameraman, he's sound man, he's the star of the show some days. Some days he lets Cam talk every now and then. This week, Cam actually got to take over the whole show, more or less. And so it was a pretty cool experience. Yeah, I think one of these days it's got to be sort of breakfast with Woody and Cam, and we can bring people into the shop and do some live recordings or something, because it's a lot of fun hanging out with those two boys.
Sounds like a Saturday morning presentation, Woody.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how many episodes we'll get through then. And in our defense, because Hutch was in town to direct us and bring his lights and all the good equipment, we did have a full 2 hours this time instead of the regular hour. So we managed to squeeze in a few more. We were there from 8 to 10.
I like it when you guys start bickering back and forth. But the Hockey Shop, source for sports Surrey, thehockeyshop.com, does bring us our gear segment, as well as presenting In Goal Radio, the podcast. And the SLR3 line from Vaughn is the focus today as we send it over to Goalie Utopia.
Welcome back to the Hockey Shop, source for sports. We're down here in the goalie level. We're trying to get on Cam's level, which is...
You are on my level. You're down here.
It's a lower level with Cam.
I think I brought you up out of the basement.
We're in Goalie Utopia. We're in Goalie Utopia. We don't call it the basement. With the new Vaughn SLR3, I'm just going to let you walk me through what's new here. We haven't really had a chance to have a breakdown ourselves from Vaughn. I mean, there's some things that jump out on the pads automatically. But you walk me through what's new, what's improved in the SLR3, Cam.
All right, SLR3. As Bauer, and we'll also give Warriors some credit here, have pushed things forward in terms of with their integration of their knee cradles and how stable they are for when you're dropping down the butterfly. Vaughn has followed suit and decided to update their knee cradle to provide a lot more stability in the butterfly. So, previous year's pad, we can already see off the bat that the knee stack is quite a bit thicker itself. We're going to pick ourselves up a little bit higher in that butterfly, get a little bit better position, take some stress off the hips as well. But the big thing here is them now actually sewing it into the internal core of the pad, just on the edge. So it's definitely not the same way that Bauer does it here. But as you can see, rather than just mounting that right on top of the actual pad itself, this one's now integrated closer to the core. So it's laced in design. You can still open it up just a little bit more to get a better look at it. But we can see we've added quite a bit more stability to that pad, especially in previous years.
Well, you can really see it in the comparison here. I mean, there's a little give there, but it's with
Correct.
The whole face of the pad. And then you look at the previous model, like that's sort of the flop and flex that we're trying to avoid as we move forward in sort of that integration between knees.
Exactly. I mean, so we've seen in pad design and the way pads have kind of changed up. We've really seen the key is being able to have that ability to have that proper seal when you're down in the butterfly and not have that pad roll out on you. So we're not having any over rotation. Under rotation, we're helping to prevent with that as well. But again, having that stable platform to allow you to sit a little bit taller, really get above that puck and cut off those angles.
Well, one day we'll teach you the research that CCM did that actually shows it gets the pad to the ice faster.
I said that earlier.
Okay.
You're a little, he's not on top of it this morning, Kevin.
What's next?
All right. So they've updated the lake channel just a little bit more too as well. So we've widened it out, add a little bit of concave to it too as well. What this will allow to do, a little bit better connectivity, better feel and rotation as well. We still feel and still have that reactive control strap, which continues off.
Compared to the two?
Yes, so deeper inset in between. They puffed out the actual shin pad just a little bit more as well. Nice and squishy. Should give that really connectivity and that overall control feel over that pad as well. Strapping system on the outer side has actually remained pretty much the same. Winning combination, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Continuing with the quick slide material as well. Something that we've seen work quite well. We've had some excellent feedback as well. Durability aspect for the pad and continuing forward. Great overall feel.
Similar to Brian's Primo.
Correct. Oddly similar.
Noticeably similar.
Still some good boot flex in the pad itself. So still allowing you to kind of get over top, as this is somewhat of a stiffer profile pad. But as we can see here, both Kevin and I noticed, we've still got some good thigh flex in the overall pad itself. So depending on what exactly you're looking for in the pad, this is something you can order custom in terms of getting it a little bit stiffer up top if you do wish. That flex is great for some guys, but that can also lead to some potential, trapdoor situations and things like that.
A little thicker, the profile. We've seen companies sort of get thinner and thinner in that thigh rise. This one's got a little more substance to it.
Correct.
And yet still has that flex.
Correct. Pad, SLR3, Pro Carbon.
I like it. The one thing that we noticed too, almost like a little bit of it, I can see it here when you're talking to me, like it almost sort of like there's like a forward angle on it when it's flush on the ice, like in terms of like not just being straight up and down, like it almost twists at the top, like a little bit to sort of cut off pucks by having a little bit of a...
Comboed with the beveled outer roll as well, help to keep the puck back in front of you, not allowing that to skip back over top and kind of roll in.
You can almost see it when it's sitting like this. It's a little bit of a twist, and it makes sense in terms of helping to sort of close that up. What's next?
All right.
You're in charge. It's your show, your show, your show.
My show today. I like this.
Yeah, I'm just a bystander. This is last year's. Show me the new glove.
SLR3 Pro Carbon Catcher. Some things have changed, but a lot of it has to do with the internals of the glove. So addition of a Kevlar palm, a thicker palm.
Noticeably
thicker palm. This will be one of those things where it's kind of hard to show you and you kind of have to more so try it on yourself, in all honesty.
Well, I don't know. Like you can sort of almost see if you open that up and show it the same way I am, you twit. You can almost see how beefed up that area is inside the palm, sort of side by side.
So I'll beef up your knowledge here a little bit between the two. Overall feel-wise, once again, you have to get it on your hands to really notice it. I mean, visuals only do so much. I actually find this has a better closure than last year's as well. However, my hands are a little stronger than Kevin's, a little bit bigger than Kevin's, so I can wrap my hand around the brake a little bit easier and get a little bit better control. So someone for a little bit smaller hands might have a little bit more difficulty with the thickness of this palm, just wrapping their hand all the way around the brake.
Yeah, I did notice it definitely. Like as soon as in the palm, as soon as you close it, you can feel how much more, there's just more material there, like significantly more material, which is going to help with stingers, but is going to require a bit of a feel adjustment for goaltenders because it is a totally different feel than before. You can see the stitching goes through the palm. There was no stitching in this one, so you've got that added, which would keep your brake intact, which is a nice thing, but it is going to feel a lot more like you're closing your hand around all that material rather than just sort of straight down a line.
Opening up the back end, and well worth it to do on this glove as well. Vaughn has changed up their system a little bit more. You can actually get quite a tight fit out of this glove. A little bit different from what they've done in the past. So Kevin takes a second to open that up. Vaughn continues using their neoprene backhand. This is something we've seen on their previous older models as well. I find I can get this glove a little bit tighter in comparison to the older SLR2. Just in terms of feel-wise, still supple materials on the inside, so it's a nice comfy glove, which Vaughn has always kind of been known for. Heat moldable, which is very important, help to imprint your hand inside that glove. Single T stock, obviously you can order double T if you want to order custom. Just nice overall feel.
Last but not least,
blocker.
How come I get the old stuff and you get the new stuff?
Well, because you don't know anything about the new stuff or the old stuff. That's what I'm here for. Ha ha, got it.
Fair point.
All right, SLR3 Pro Carbon Blocker. Winning recipe already for them. Not a whole lot has changed between the two. Biggest call out is the new palm material. Softer foam. We see this foam actually in the knee cradle itself. Much different feel overall. I actually find that this palm's a little bit tighter on the hand, but not necessarily in a bad way.
Well, we've seen other companies go this way as well over the past couple of years. Reduce the material, almost like a player's glove. Less material leads to better feel.
Correct. Nice control. The blocker's not overly floppy by any means. Again, winning recipe for them, so not a whole lot has changed. SLR3 Pro Carbon. If you have any questions about it, you can give me a call.
I have a question, Cam.
Oh, here we go.
How come it has quick slide technology on the blocker?
So, as a durability aspect, when you're down in that paddle down, because that quick slide material is a little bit better of a wear, when you're down and having that blocker run across, this will help to stop those edges from wearing.
He actually had a good answer. I'm impressed. I guess that's why you come to the Hockey Shop on thehockeyshop.com with your questions. If they've got any more, Cam, where can they get you?
604-589-8299.
Remember, folks, SLR3 in store now, also available for custom orders. If you want to go through that custom process, make sure you talk to Cam. We talked last week about fit and how different pads fit differently. This is one of the ones that fits differently from Vaughn's other model. Make sure you check in with Cam to get the size and the specs that fit your game. Thanks, Cam.
Thank you.
The glove, that fascinates me. The real firm padded palm. Like hearing that. The blocker with the slide on the blocker. Like that's cool. You
Thought
guys
I
got all the
stumped
technical
Cam there,
terms.
hey, and he actually had an answer for me.
I know. That was cool.
Yeah, I was kind of
Not for
pissed.
very long. You didn't.
Yeah,
stump
no,
him. That
he
a
was
good
pretty
response.
much ready for it, but it was a
Nice try,
good
Woody.
question.
I thought I had him, and he just like had it ready to go, and it actually made sense too, which is like totally like baffling to me.
Yes. I kind of use it as leverage though, sometimes to get up. And if there's some slide on there, there's no way I'm gonna be able to get up. But what's your favorite? I'll start with you, Hutch. Just your favorite part of the new SLR3 line.
Well, for me, it was the knee stack for sure. I think this trend towards firming up the knee stacks so that they're no longer just simply laced to the back of the pad. And Kevin had a beautiful demo in the video. And again, another reminder: go to YouTube, check out the video of this segment because Kevin really nicely showed the difference between the SLR2 and the SLR3 and that change in the knee stack. And you can just see how much more connected you'll be. How much quicker you'll get the pad to the ice as a result of that. And again, I think he did sort of stump Cam in that one, but he didn't really admit it. And so, yeah, that was the biggest change. And then the improvement in the blocker palm as well. Just again, another little bit of a trend in the industry that's happening, removing some of the material in that blocker palm so that it fits a little bit smaller. And you can be a little bit more accurate with your work with the stick as well as a result. So, a lot of really good highlights, hey, Woody?
Yeah, the glove would take some getting used to. Like, there's a lot of extra material sort of inside that break line in the palm of your hand, and you feel like you're closing it around that material a little bit. But I think with a break-in, you'd get comfortable with that, and you're certainly going to have a ton of protection in the palm. It was pretty beefy. Pads, I'll be honest with you guys. Now, we haven't done demo or official in-goal, like deep dive, multiple tester sessions on Vaughn Geez, it's been years since we've done that, dating back to the time they sent us one pad to test. I don't think we've tested anything from them since. And I got to be honest with you, this is probably the first time in a while where I've picked up a Vaughn pad and thought I'd really like to do a full review and get to see how this performs and how it feels. Because it was sort of that straight modern butterfly pad, but I like the flex profile on it. At a time when a lot of companies are going super thin on the thigh rise, this was actually beefier. And at first I thought, it's pretty thick thigh rise compared to where everyone's going, but a lot of flex on there, and you felt like you could put a good curve in it. And so I'd be curious to see how it performs and get a feel for how it actually is on the ice. Again, feels like a sort of straight profile pad, or not straight, but sort of flat profile pad with a lot of flex in it. Like I'd just like to give it a whirl. So if you're listening, Vaughn, get on that.
Hey, if you're an In-Goal member, you can go over to ingoalmag.com, scroll down to the bottom. You've got access to the archives of those old PDF sort of flip books that we did. Go check it out and see if you can figure out which one of those Woody's wearing only one pad.
Oh, yeah. That
took some talk about art direction, and that was really Woody's brilliance on that one.
For those that don't know,
tough now.
You
there
did
was
pad
a
review.
whole lot of one pad down VH shoved off the post to film that one.
You couldn't do it anymore because of the RVH, but in the old VH days, you can get away with just one pad and shoot a cover.
You were doing a pad review and they sent you one pad, and then you guys were amazing in making it work with one pad. But
I saw one of their reps as well on the ice shortly after that, and I asked him why he wasn't wearing their skates, and it's because he'd only been sent one skate to review as well. So
it happens.
They, to be fair, they were putting customers first instead of just making all the demo gear for everybody else. Production was for their customers, but it was a bit of a challenge.
Trying to think of what you could actually get away with one of, like one glove. That's going to be tough. You need, and they're different. One arm in a chesty. I don't know.
Hey, I almost had to play beer league the other night with no gloves, and that is because, and I blame Cam for this, frankly, because after we did that episode on how to break in your glove, and he threw the CCM glove in the skate oven for just like 2 minutes, and then I put it on my hand, and it was like soft butter. Or to quote Carey Price, sticking your hand in a
a warm loaf of butter.
It was so nice. So now I've taken to throwing my mitt in front of on a little drying rack that I have in my garage, sort of put a little heat in it before each game. So I packed up all my gear, threw the mitt on the heater, got halfway to the rink. This is just like last night, got halfway to the rink and I'm like, oh crap. No way to make it back in time. 30 minutes out. There's no way. Text my wife, brings the glove to the rink. 20 years of marriage and she drags a stinky glove 30 minutes across town to make sure I could actually have something on my hand for. So that is, as I said on Twitter, the definition of true love. Thanks, Steph. You're the best. In Goal Magazine CFO and glove deliverer.
You are a disaster. Didn't you have a flat tire like a month ago?
Yep.
And then
my fault. I drove over a screw. Yeah. I'm on a roll, boys. Listen, if you don't show up to the rink without built-in excuses for your poor performances, how are you going to get away with all this crappy play I've had of late?
Did you win? Darren, have you ever forgotten equipment?
Yeah.
What'd you forget?
I think I've forgotten everything over the years. But
all
more recently, skates. I forgot skates a couple of years ago.
One.
I think I can beat you both.
What?
Jock?
I forgot my pads once.
How do you forget pads?
I have no idea. I don't put them in my bag. I carry them separately.
You know what we do to our kids?
I arrived at the rink, I opened the back of the van and immediately knew what I'd done. Thankfully, at the time, I lived literally 5 minutes from the rink, so it wasn't a big deal. I guess too much going on.
I think the most common one is undergarments. Like, if you wash your undergarment bag and then you forget to put it back in the hockey bag, that's the worst one for me. But once I did that and I'd washed the jock, and so I got to the rink and I didn't have undergarments and I didn't have a can. That was a dangerous game.
You didn't play.
I did. Darren, I did play, but I had a player's can sort of just shoved in there in my pants and hoped it stayed in the right spot.
You were an idiot, Woody. And I would wear undergarments all day long before I do that. I wouldn't do that. You don't wear a dangler and you wear a player's cup.
It was just one game. It was low level.
It only takes one shot to either place.
Listen, I've already had my 2 kids. I'm done with that. It was okay. Would have been painful, but
never mind the pain. Yeah, like I'm not. They'd be doing the world a favor at this point if they hit you there. Okay, that was a little too much. I apologize. Did you guys see Logan Thompson the other night? The rookie playing up with the Vegas Golden Knights, started 8 games in a row. Stepped in the goalies are down. He took a stick to the side of the head and it got underneath his mask. But the dangler kind of deflected and took away some of the momentum of the twig because it just snapped in there. So I was thinking about you 2 idiots.
I was in Seattle, no?
Yeah.
I watched that game and I was actually a little worried. Not worried, but I wondered just because of the way he reacted and the way his head snapped around. I kept waiting for one of those concussion spotters to say, oh, he was holding his head and shaking his head. He has to come out of the game. And poor Robin Lehner getting thrust in off the bench after not playing for a month. I kind of was worried that was going to happen in that game after watching that.
I was more than worried. I was shocked it didn't happen.
Yeah.
After some of the players that have been pulled out. And you know what, Hutch? I won't call you an idiot. I'll just say that your choices are slightly misaligned.
Idiotic?
Yeah, slightly idiotic when it comes to not wearing a dangler. What choice is
that? Hanging out with Woody?
No, not wearing a dangler.
Oh, okay.
We're back to that whole thing. Or what do they call it? Lexan now?
Yeah, I don't play with anybody who shoots hard enough to hurt me there anyway, so it's all good.
Well, you never know. You might just fall down and you can't get up.
That's the age of
then you're next exposed. Let's get into the first of our 2 feature interviews presented by Sensorina VR. We just loving what's going on at Sensorina right now and heading into that stage where you might have some gaps if you got a child in minor hockey where you've got some space in your schedule with seasons ending and spring hockey if you're playing that haven't started up yet. And this would help you out.
I think Sensorina, Darren's an incredible opportunity as we hit the summertime now. Most teams have finished and some kids moved on to spring hockey, but I know if you want to reach the next level as a goaltender, you really need to do something over these next 4 months to try and raise your game. And absolutely encourage people to play some other sports, get out there, play some baseball, play some golf, whatever it is that's your passion, chase those down, but find some room to work on your goaltending. And it's not enough to just go out for a skate with a group of kids who want to play a little bit of shinny. That will not get you ready for the next level because, as we've talked about on the show before, guys, shinny hockey just leads to bad habits, cheating, not preparing you. But Sense Arena gives you an opportunity to work on your game in a focused way that, quite frankly, you can't even do on the ice a lot of the things that you can do with Sense Arena. Whether that's working through a drill using the box control ropes that show you how you're filling space, they're on there as you're working through the drill. Whether it's reading shooters at a higher level than you've played before to learn how that puck is released from the stick and how to track that into your glove, getting specific feedback about your tracking, a percentage number after every drill telling you how well you tracked the puck, how quickly you reacted to it. There's so many things built into Sense Arena that will help you raise your game so that when you get on the ice again in the fall, you're going to be a better goaltender than when you left it and ahead of all the other guys out there who aren't using Sense Arena, who aren't doing some specific training through the summer. You know, guys, I often hear people say that players should do something over the summer, like try and shoot 100 pucks a day, try and shoot 10,000 pucks in the backyard over the course of the summer. I would challenge everybody out there who's got Sense Arena to make a goal of 15 minutes a day for the summer. Do a diagnostic, work through a training plan, do some of the neurocognitive drills. You don't have to spend 2 hours. I guarantee if you spend 15 minutes a day for the rest of the summer, do that little in-goal Sense Arena challenge, you will raise your game to a new level. Sense Arena, give it a try this summer.
Yeah, and the puck tracking statistics that they give you, like it's a great reminder. You might do 2 drills, then you look at that and go, "Oh, well, I can do better than that," and improve your puck tracking. And it's a reinforcement and something that, as far as puck tracking, you don't have. Even if you're out and you've got all the ice time in the world, you don't have that feedback about how much you're actually doing beyond a coach or somebody telling you you're not doing this enough.
Yeah. And we were, as you know, we were talking to a couple of American League goaltenders and a NHL development coach this weekend, and they specifically wanted to sit down with us and find out more about Sense Arena. These are guys at the highest level in the game looking for that next tool that will help them become better goaltenders, and they want to find out more about it. And I encourage everybody else out there to do the very same thing.
You tell him I was top 140 once in a competition for a while.
I did. I said, I wish Darren was here.
Did you guys, hey, listen, guys, did you see that one of the finalists for the Sense Arena goalie competition, his name's Bill, that he's 51 years old. He bought 51? It for his kids and started doing it. And he's I just had a great testimonial about it from him, talking about how incredible a tool it's been for him and learning about box control and the lessons from Brian DeCord and how much it's progressed his game. So us old farts here making jokes about not being able to crack the top 40 or whatever. Bill's here in the finalists at age 51. So there's hope for all of us yet.
Hey, and does Sense Arena make a difference?
Totally.
Darren Millard was a mere beer league goaltender, got Sense Arena. He's been skating with Jack Eichel ever since. So come on.
And look what Jack
is there a better testimonial?
No. And all of a sudden Vegas can score again. They're lighting it up. So it's great on that side of it. And speaking of inspirational stories, what a dynamite experience for Taylor Joseph, EBUG, and just Woody, can you walk through for us what happened, and then you guys get into the conversation?
Well, I think we'll just throw it to the conversation because I really had Taylor walk us through it. And the pieces that I don't think a lot of people realize, as he explains, was just how long it had been since he'd been on the ice with his university team. Between that and getting this opportunity, what he thought was going to be just, on the bench in a typical EBUG backup role, to making his first start in the American Hockey League on literally a couple of hours' notice. It's a great story, and we thought it was. We know there's other stories like this out there, but it was just the way it panned out and the way it played out. He was in our backyard here in the Vancouver area, and so we wanted to catch up with him for a few minutes. And let's let Taylor tell us how it all went down. Excited to welcome to the In Goal Radio podcast for the first time, and just from down the road here in the Lower Mainland, Taylor Joseph from the Trinity Western University Spartans.
That's it, you got it.
And the Toronto Marlies this past week. Gets into his first AHL game. Rather than me setting it up and walking people through the details, why don't you just do it for us, Taylor? You've had an opportunity to sort of be in that EBUG role before out in Abbotsford, playing nearby in Trinity Western with the Abbotsford Canucks. Things went from EBUG to starter to walk me through how this week proceeded for you to get into your first American Hockey League game and get your first AHL win.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me, Kevin. I appreciate it. And to be honest, it was to be honest, I was we have a team sponsor here at Trinity Western, so a few of us help them out just working. I have some time on my hands, so I was actually in the middle of working, and I got a text message from one of the guys with the Marlies, and he just said, "Hey, we need you for tonight and tomorrow to back up Hutchinson." I was like, "Okay, yeah, for sure." So I kind of scrambled. I had a few hours to get to the rink, so I kind of scrambled to get back to White Rock, and then to get to the rink, and then it was kind of just thought I was obviously backing up. And then I got to the rink that day, and the trainers with Toronto just said, "Hey, Mrazek went down." So I didn't think anything of it. I was just that kind of sucks, right? And then I was getting my stuff ready, and then got called into the coach's office. I thought it was just an introduction, and they said, "Yeah, you're starting tonight." As soon as I went in, and so I was I thought they were kind of joking at first. I don't know. You think a lot of things going through your head there, and then found out they were pretty serious quickly, and that's kind of how I found out around 2 hours before the game.
It better that way. I mean, like you said, you walk in there expecting to, get the jersey and be on the bench and be a part of the team for a couple of nights, but not necessarily play a game. I mean, I guess you got to sort of prepare yourself mentally. There's always the possibility the other guy gets hurt, but to have that mind frame have to switch that quickly, is it almost better that you didn't have any notice, or was it tough because you would have maybe prepared differently with a little more time?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. I think I try to prepare the same way for every game, regardless if you're starting or not. I think the big thing is I honestly didn't have time, even from when I got the phone call that day. I kind of went into the mode, just get there as soon as I can, just kind of try to prepare. And then when I got the news, to be honest, it was just normal routine, game day routine. Tried not to think too much of it. I was obviously excited to get the call, and those opportunities don't come often, so I just wanted to kind of run with it and take it. So
you've been around the Abbotsford Canucks. You've done some sort of fill-in duty with them. Does it help having seen? Because I imagine the jump up from Canadian University to the American Hockey League. We've had guys talk about for a lot of years that's the biggest jump you can make, whether it's university, junior. From there to your first year pro is the biggest jump. So to all of a sudden get thrown into a game, does the fact you'd seen those shots before in other warm-ups, were used to the environment, been around the rink there, did that help at all? Or was it all just sort of coming at you in waves and learning as you go?
No, I was fortunate when I was with Abbotsford. I was there for about a week, so I got to practice with them, and it was honestly the transition for me. Those guys are so good at what they do up there, and as you go up, so I'm not really flashy as a goalie. I kind of try to stay positionally sound and use my athleticism when I have to. But to be honest, those guys are so good at what they do, it kind of simplifies it for you. So it's obviously the speed is good, really, it's high. The shots are harder, but if I'm reading the plays, it's a little bit more, you can kind of read what's going to happen. So I hadn't been on the ice since February 13th. So I think that was a bit more nerve wracking for me. When our school was done this year, we didn't have any ice. So I just kind of tried to work out and stay in shape. And I was waiting for some East Coast opportunities and stuff. So it was, I couldn't have asked for a better situation besides that. It would have been nice to get on the ice a couple times before, but that is what it is. So
what's that? Almost, I'm doing the math in my head, almost 6 weeks between ice time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And called in the afternoon and walk into the office at 5:00 and by the way, you're starting in the American Hockey League.
Yeah. I guess so. That's so. That's I tried to get on the ice a couple times. It was tough with playoffs and everything going on here. The LEC, they didn't have any ice because of the basketball tournament that was going on. So it was I just worked out every day trying to stay in shape and get ready for any pro opportunities that came. So
any words of advice from Hannu Toivonen?
He just said he didn't know my game at all. I think some of the guys were nervous, obviously, and rightfully so. Like, they didn't know who I was at all. They didn't know probably if I played hockey still. So he just said keep it simple and kind of showed me what to expect from them. To be honest, it was a bit of a blur when he was explaining it to me. A lot of things are going on through your head at that time. So I didn't feel nervous for the game. I just kind of tried to keep it like it was every day, like in a game every day, and like try not to overthink it. I didn't have too much to lose, I thought, in the process as well. So I just kind of wanted to make the most of it and see what could happen. So I'm very thankful and blessed for how it did turn out. So.
Any moments that stand out from the game itself? Like, was there like a pinch me moment or like I'm a here moment at any point along the way there?
I think when you're in the tunnel getting ready to go out, like I realized I'm like, okay, like this is something you worked your whole life for. It was at the end, like just talking to my family, it was pretty emotional just night because I've been through a lot through hockey with just injuries, and I got in a car accident in 2016 that like put me out for a bit too. So like that was it was just thankful for the opportunity and that I could get there, right? And like my hope is still one day to try to make National Hockey League like a lot of guys. So it's just kind of a cool opportunity. And I think when obviously it was over, I tried not to think about it too much and during the game, but I think when finally the buzzer went, it was a huge sigh of relief and just thankful to God, honestly, for what happened that day. So.
Well, give our audience a little bit of a background, Taylor. You're 27 years old, like I said, playing at Trinity Western, but like you said, there's like a couple gaps on the resume here where like there was some extended time off where you were away from the game. From Sherwood Park originally, an area we're familiar with. Some good goalies come out of Sherwood Park.
Yeah,
I'm sure you know. You probably know a few of them. So just walk us through your background for those that don't know you and sort of the path that led to here and where you're at. And like you said, when your university season finished up, you were looking for an opportunity to play. I'd be curious if any doors have opened as a result of the other night.
Yeah, like I was a late bloomer, I guess. I never really played AAA. My second year ever midget was my first year AAA ever. So I was a late bloomer, and then played junior B when I was 17, and then got an opportunity to play junior A my 18, 19, 20-year-old year. And then I was fortunate to play in Portage where we hosted the RBC Cup. And unfortunately that year, I was the number one ranked goalie in Canada, and then I ended up blowing my knee out and done. So I lost a few opportunities with the NCAA through that, and kind of had to like start from scratch. No one was really willing to give me a chance with my knee. And so I played a year in the ACAC, was still recovering for that year from my knee. It took me about till the last 2 months of the season where I felt comfortable again to play. And then after that April, I got hit by a drunk driver. And so that kind of I was concussed pretty bad and had to deal with some injuries through that. So that kind of delayed my next year and when I transferred to U Sports for the first year. And then after that, it was just battling for an opportunity. We had some pretty good goalies with me at Nipissing, and one of the guys was Brent Ryan. He's drafted Dallas Stars, great guy. And so it was always kind of a battle, but I got my opportunity there my last couple of years there. And then the year, my last year at Nipissing is when COVID happened. So didn't go pro that year or look to go pro.
Just one thing after another, eh? Yeah. Holy smoke.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy ride, but I was fortunate enough to come here to Trinity. Barrett reached out, and my brother was actually talking with the school as well, and he ended up deciding to go as well. So it was a pretty cool experience to play with my brother for the first time in our careers. And yeah, so it's been a whirlwind, but yeah, no, I'm just, like I said, thankful I'm still playing and getting the opportunities I have. So as of right now, I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen. I have to speak with the agent this week or tomorrow and kind of see if anything will open up. But yeah, just kind of going with it and seeing what happens.
Well, I know there were some people there watching that game that were impressed, sort of poised under pressure. And when you know more about the situation and the fact you hadn't played in 6 weeks makes it even more impressive, Taylor. So congratulations on that. Everything you've been through to this point, I mean, do you reflect on that after the game? Like, is it emotional afterwards once you sort of get through the moment? Like, man, I did this. I know you had to prepare for a game the next day because it was back-to-back, but all that you've overcome to just get to that point, did you have a chance to reflect on that, to spend time talking with family? Because it's been a hell of a journey.
Yeah, like it definitely, it was. And I had to really, it took me a couple of days to process, even I think maybe last couple of days, that everything that's happened. I wouldn't change anything about my past because it's made me who I am today. And I definitely wouldn't be the person I am if I hadn't gone through that stuff. So I'm thankful for what did transpire in my past. And the thing is like, it's not over. That's kind of what my family and me believe, and with all of us. And so we're fortunate. My dad played some pro football and basketball, so he's kind of always given us some guidance and stuff. And I'm not going to give up, right? I'm just going to keep working hard and see what happens. So no, I just, like I said, very thankful and blessed for what happened, and something I'll never forget, obviously. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Awesome. And a great story, and Taylor, a great approach to it. And we're thankful that you took the time to talk with us about it on the Ingo Radio podcast. And I look forward to keeping tabs on what's next and seeing you around, especially the fact you're practically down the road here in White Rock. I look forward to keeping in touch and connecting and following along and looking for the next big moment for you.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Kevin, for having me again. Appreciate it.
Living our dream. Not just the three of us, but so many people that listen to this podcast. That's what happened for Taylor Joseph.
Yeah, and I think hopefully an opportunity, as you talked about at the end, maybe there will be another opportunity, whether it's in the ECHL or elsewhere, to sort of continue that dream for him. He is done in university, and I think, if you look up his Hockey DB page and you look at, this season with Trinity Western University, you see the raw numbers, and the save percentage is, maybe doesn't jump off the page as being exceptional. But what most people don't know is that this is Trinity Western's first year playing in the sort of highest level of Canadian university hockey, U Sports. And so he's up against like powerhouse. We had Zach Sawchenko on the show just a few weeks ago playing with the San Jose Sharks. He comes from the University of Alberta, powerhouse program. Taylor played games against them where he told me he was seeing 65 shots. So University of British Columbia, like teams that are just loaded with ex-CHL players, real high-end hockey. Again, we've talked about this. Logan Thompson, you mentioned it, Darren, sort of helped save over the last, week to 10 days, helped save the Vegas Golden Knights season after just a couple years removed from Brock University. Like, this is good hockey. And Taylor's team they were up against it on a lot of nights this year, and he kind of kept them in it. So hopefully, he does get an opportunity, and some of the scouts out there, as they're looking around, take a look at the film and not just the raw numbers and give him a shot. Because as he showed in that first game with the Marlies, 34 saves on 37 shots and a win in his first AHL start after not being on the ice for 6 weeks. Obviously, there's something there, and so hopefully he gets another opportunity.
And he actually got 2 starts. And I know he didn't finish the next game, but it wasn't like where he gave up a ton. The other goaltender arrived for the second period, so he came out, but he allowed 2 and 10. That's not bad at all. A lot of guys are down 2-0 after. Thatcher Demko was down 2-0 after a period
There you go.
Against Vegas on the night that we record this.
It was exciting, guys.
Yes.
I found out it was happening, and I put the radio on and listened to most of the game, and it was awesome at the end because, first off, they were under siege trying to hold this game together to try and get the win. And I believe the goaltender was pulled at the other end as well. And then the announcers at the end of the game, who called a brilliant game, made it very exciting, finished off with saying, "Do you start him next game? You have to start him next game." I mean, he earned it. And yeah, there were some circumstances involved, but good for him. It was awesome.
That's fantastic.
And hey, and like not just next game, but next night. So that was back-to-backs, like no ice time for 6 weeks. Make your first AHL start and right back in the net the next night. It was a back-to-back situation for Abbotsford and Toronto.
Hutch, you pulled a great story too. An incredible accomplishment out of that as well. You have a radio?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I was streaming it.
Ah, there we go. You were trying to really go old school, weren't you? With leather pads and listen listen to the transistor radio.
I actually wish I had one, because I've been to a bunch of junior hockey games.
Oh,
And you see the odd super fan listening to the broadcast as you're sitting in the room.
Yeah.
Because there's no Jumbotron with the replays. You just don't have the same feedback you do. So I actually kind of wish I had the old AM transistor.
that's really good. Oh, and you have one.
I have one. I have a little tiny
what he
Sony AM FM with an earphone, because when I cover the Vancouver Canucks, one thing that I can't do is be more than one person. And usually, quite often in a third period, especially a close game, there are times when you have your head down and you're writing your story, because I have to file a story literally within a minute of the final buzzer when the game ends, even if it's in overtime, even if it's in a shootout, and then be down near the locker rooms in 10 minutes. So when you put your head down to write, it's nice to have, I can't keep an eye on the game all the time, but if I've got the local broadcast in my ear on the radio, I can hear what's going on. And of course, most radio broadcasts, and especially here in Vancouver, like they've got the pregame show, the postgame show, all those people have eyes on the game. So if somebody leaves the game, somebody goes to the dressing room for an injury or whatever, and again, I've got my head down looking at my computer writing my story, it helps me keep tabs of it. So I too have an AM FM radio.
Wow, not to upstage Taylor Joseph, but we've really expanded the way we do things around here, and our dedication. Hutch is dialing up the stream of this situation, and Woody's got the AM radio going as he covers the game, and we also lean on our friends to bring you some really cool interviews, like the Kevin Poulin conversation that we've got coming up in a second. Just how did the relationship come about that Kevin joined us on the show today?
I think that one's full credit to Hutch.
Well, both of us really. I actually honestly don't know. I think way back in the early days of In Goal, Marco Marciano, who is now the development coach for the Montreal Canadiens, reached out, and we began a few conversations. And he was at the time, and I think still, selling a product called Blocker Sleeve, sort of a Velcro thing that sits over top of your blocker, so that if you're doing a little bit of ball toss, you don't take the first ball and put it off into the corner of the room and can't go get it. A really nice little training tool. And I think he wanted to share that with me. And then over the years, we've just sort of kept a relationship up. He'll send me some video of a few things. We talk about them. Not shy to say I've sent a few videos of my kid doing a few things, and he's told me some stuff about it. And when we've been in Montreal, we've had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time and have a few conversations. We were on the ice with him, both for some training sessions where he does some really unique sort of edge work stuff with his goaltenders. He's got a neat look at things. He was on the ice when Kevin and I were lucky enough to be there for a day with CCM as they were unveiling the new gear. Happened to be that year that they made the big changes to the sizing of the gear. We got to be on the ice when guys like Marc-Andre Fleury and Jiggy and Corey Crawford were getting their new gear for the very first time. Jonathan Bernier as well. And Marco was there as the goaltending coach just to run a few drills for all of these guys. And he had Marc-Andre Fleury doing basically a Russian dance as he was firing pucks at his gloves to catch. So a little bit of the old school Vladislav Tretiak stuff. Fascinating guy Marco is, and we've stayed in touch. And then when we found out that they were coming into town to be with Abbotsford, just sent him a note, and we got together, had lunch together, and then went out and watched the practice that they had out in Abbotsford. And he, as always, was happy to get his guys to come and spend some time with us. Kevin Poulin, Caden Primo, many other people have been on the podcast as a result of Marco as well, including Jonathan Bernier, who's both been on the podcast and done a bunch of drills. So many thanks to Marco for all that he's done for us, and including Kevin Poulin. I'm sure at some point in the near future, Caden Primo as well.
Woody, your conversation is covers a lot of different things. One, the modern puck tracking and different areas that he's focused on now, but also when Kevin broke into the National Hockey League in really not exactly the most stable environment on Long Island.
Yeah, I know some tough circumstances, some tough situations. Like early in his career, a team and a franchise that seemed hell-bent sometimes, it seems, on having too many goalies at each level, not just in the NHL. Remember when they had a tendency to get stuck with 3, and then also in the American League. And But a lot of great sort of lessons for him learned along the way. He talks a little bit about our good friend Sudarshan Maharaj, who was a part of the Islanders when he first got there. Some great lessons from his time overseas, and even this year working with Marco. So as much as this is an interview that talks a lot about a journey that goes all over the place, let's not forget bronze medal with Canada at the 2018 Winter Olympics. Spengler Cup gold medal, wearing that Hockey Canada jersey, or playing for Canada at the Spengler Cup, overseas in Europe for several years, and now back into North America. There's some great anecdotes and some great stories about the journey, but also a lot of lessons. And including this year, the one that jumped out to me was just, I guess, maybe he was waiting till the play was getting in the zone before he was getting set, but just to be early and make sure you're setting up. And I know anybody can probably relate to that. You fall in that habit of sort of waiting a little too long and you end up getting behind. And so that was one of the things he talked about. And I think this interview is chock full of both great stories, but also some great lessons that can be applied at pretty much every level, whether you're just getting started or you're moving your way up into junior, but also as he's sort of working in a mentorship role now, even for a guy like Caden Primo, there are lessons that Kevin Poulin has learned and continues to learn that will help everyone become a better goaltender, including, and I almost forgot, this is one we got to get into a little bit more, but the idea that you can get better playing behind a really crappy team, like that can be seen as a positive, something he learned when he was in junior. So all that and a whole lot more in this week's interview with Kevin Poulin. Really excited to welcome to the In Goal Radio podcast for the first time, Kevin Poulin, who is in town this weekend with the Laval Rocket. Kevin, thank you so much for making the time to join us, especially on a game day. Really appreciate this. Your career has gone in so many different directions. You've seen and played at all levels that I was almost uncertain where to start. But let's start right now with your role with Laval, obviously playing and competing and playing well still. But also, are you transitioning? Is there a mentorship component when I see you alongside a young guy like Caden Primo? Are you trying to help show him the ropes while still competing with him for starts and playing time? How's that process been for you?
It's been pretty good. Primo is such a great goaltender. He's a great kid as well. And, experience comes with playing, and sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. And for me, I'm trying to help him whenever it's not going the way he wants. And as a goalie, sometimes it's frustrating because you're the only one out there. It's a game within the game. So the other guys don't understand what you're going through. But like you said, like I've been playing pro for 12 years now. I've been all over. I've seen a lot of things. So. So sometimes I just, talk to him a little bit and, hey, like keep up, or you're playing big, some keywords sometimes that help you in your game.
Have you discovered over all these years and all these different stops and all those different experiences, when you talk about keywords and things that, maybe you think might help him, walk us through where you're at with your game. Are there keywords for you that you've learned over the years? We've seen different guys at different stages of their career. Sometimes they'll write them on a blocker, like things that as they discover what their foundation is, little tips and tricks to help make sure they stick with it and get back to it if it drifts.
For me, at this stage of my career, it's mostly I just like to have my eyes on the puck, have good reads. And less is more a little bit. Like, I had some injuries and I was a little slower than when I was 20 years old. But it's having fun as well. Just have fun. Sometimes we get into our own head and it spirals. And I think just by having fun, you bring back the need to learn more, or, you're enjoying going to the rink, you're enjoying more and more. So you're getting more out of your training, or, everything surrounding the goalie position.
Have there been points? Because there were times where you were part of 3 goalie rotations with the Islanders. Like you said, you've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've been in some tough situations that any goalie would, like it's just 3 doesn't go into 2, right? Like there's only 2 nets. And so you've been part of that. Were there times where you had to remind yourself, like, is that a lesson when you talk about having fun and enjoying it fueling your game. Was that a lesson you had to learn over time? And were there points where that was really tough to sort of step back and see it?
Yeah. My time with the Islanders wasn't easy sometimes. We had a lot of goalies, and every year I felt like the team was going to get another goalie and another goalie. And it was very frustrating when I was younger, and especially when you're younger, you want to play and you want to be on the ice. And now I'm looking back, it wasn't like a fun time, but I learned so much from it. And now it's just, having fun. And like I said, when you're a young goalie, sometimes you don't understand, and it's a business, and there's only two goalies, like you said. And but if you're having fun, it will show, and it will help you in the long run.
Do you think it helps with teammates too and building relationships? Like you're such a part of the team in a practice situation. We all know that practices aren't always fun for goalies, but if you try and have some fun, and can that help, in terms of getting the support of teammates as well, and making sure that, they're sort of battling for you when it is time to maybe not have fun, but go to work?
Yeah. I mean, if there's a drill that you're not having fun, I think you just have to like make it fun, or, you just have fun with the guys and laugh for a little bit. But at the same time, you got to work hard and always try to find something to improve. But yeah, if you're having fun, it's just makes it easier, and it makes the team more tight together, and they will go to battle for you. And when they're not having a good night, you're gonna battle for them as well.
Just sticking with right now, you talk about less is more and learning that process. I think it's something that some guys, again, it takes a while to sort of get there. What are there things you still work on? I mean, the game's always evolving. The position's always evolving. Like you said, you played 12 years. You've got an Olympic medal with Canada. Like, you've done so much, and yet you're still 31. The game changes around you. What are some of the things that you're trying to work on, say now with a goalie coach like Marco Marciano with Laval?
Right now, I think the biggest thing that we're working on is just be ready on zone entry. I used to be more relaxed, like wait and then get ready once they're in the zone. I think now it's before the blue line, be ready. If you're ready, you'll be more sharp on, a pass across. You'll beat the pass. You'll be ready. It's going to be easier than, when they start with the zone entry and you're already late, then, everything you're catching up after that. And having good reads on shots, good tracking. Tracking has been an important part of what we've been working, me and Marco. And just be ready. If my feet are ready and my tracking is on point, usually I'm having a good night.
Talk about reads. They're experience-based for the most part, right? You see different situations. You sort of learn what's coming based on past experience. Is that something that, we've seen over the years? Young goalies come in with so much talent and they move so well. But sometimes that ability to learn and process and read the game can take a little longer. Are there things you've used other than experience to improve that? Like, do you think video can help? Are there any things you can do to get better at reading the game?
It's mostly experience. You've been in that situation before. You've been scored on that situation, so you're learning through getting scored against. But I think for me, I do a lot of videos for on their power play. I think it's important to know what they're doing and their tendency, because that's usually it's the time that you get more shots and more zone time and all this, and the rest is just experience. No one is reinventing the game. It's always the same 3-4 options and second wave and everything else. So like we do team meetings and we have videos, so I just look with their tendency real quick, and then for me it's just focusing, like I said, getting ready once they're in the zone, good tracking, and that's it.
There's only so many different patterns you have to worry about, right? I guess eventually the patterns start to repeat themselves. When you say tracking, like walk me through. It's a catchphrase that we've heard a lot of difference. Like what to you is tracking, and what's changed in terms of what you think of tracking and tracking well, working with Marco this year?
For me, tracking is it's literally watching the puck all the way through, like all the way in my glove or all the way to my blocker. And I like to make the save in front of me instead of on the side. So you're cutting more angles that way. And if there's a rebound, it's in front of you. So it's easier to readjust or control.
Also, just sort of making sure you keep, is that something that maybe wasn't there in the past and something you've worked on, and opposed to, maybe turning on pucks and catching them at the side, trying to control that small space in front of you a little bit more? It seems to be I don't even know if theory is the right word, but an approach that's evolved quite a bit over the last 3-4 years in terms of mindset. And that, I guess the Swedes, I think, call it box control, like that small little net in front of you instead of the big one behind you.
Yeah. Well, I started to work with Marco 4 or 5 years ago during the summertime. So I knew Marco from before. Oh, well, I actually know Marco since I was 15, I think. So it's been a long time. But it's the first time together in a season. But yeah, we've been working on that. I used to make save on the side, and it was more like an old school approach. Like I said, it's been 12 years, so I was used to like the VH, and we talked about it. The game evolved, so I think that's one part of my game I've been working on, is the tracking, making the save in front of me. And angle to the playing my angles with the shuffles instead of just I didn't have a set angle spot. I would just like shuffle to the post. Now it's more like you start in the middle, you have the dot, the blue line, the other blue line, hash mark, and then you're at the post. So I think that's something I've been working with Marco a lot, and during the past summertime, and it's something I still like to work on sometimes.
Help with the game's become so lateral, so east-west for the attacks. I'm imagining that's an increasingly important part of the position, is being able to hit those spots and control those movements when you're going side to side.
Yeah, I think the game is faster as well, and guys are, we've seen over the past, guys been shooting from bad angles a lot too. So that's something we have to work on as goalies. So,
like I said, it's always evolving. It's what I love about the position. Tell me how did you fall in love with the position? How'd you get started? Taking it way back here.
Way back, I would just remember watching Dominik Hasek. It was, no control. It was just making those big saves. It just made me fall in love with the game. I used to be a defenseman, playing hockey growing up. I was playing D, and I just remember I always it wasn't the gear. It was more like how flashy it was and how like fun it looked to make those saves. And so I just started being goalie, like playing basement at my house. And then one year I told my dad, I'm like, "Hey Dad, I want to be a goalie." He looked at me like, "Really? Are you sure?" I'm like, yeah, I want to play goalie. So then the year after, first year as a goalie, I think I was around 10 years old.
Nice. I was going to say, I don't know if a kid from Montreal, are you allowed to admit that it was Dominik Hasek? Isn't it supposed to be Marty or Patrick? Or I love it.
No, it was really Dominik Hasek. I remember. I love watching the other guys too, Marty and Patty, and even Giguère when he was in Anaheim, and later on Theodore in Montreal. He had that flashy thing as well. To make the big glove saves and scrambling and making the last minute save. So
little swagger.
But it really started with Dominik Hasek, and it's funny because I took 39 this year and I forgot he had 39, and it was just but our game is My first couple of years, I would just play goalie like him. Like it was just all over the place, and I think it actually developed my hockey sense playing that way. Like less control, it was more all right. Do whatever you can to stop the puck. And as I got older, it was more structure to my game, midget and junior, and even pro. It's just keeping evolving.
Well, I was going to say that's probably a good thing, no? Like it doesn't sound like if you're playing like Hasek, you probably didn't have a lot of goalie coaching at that age. You're only 10 or 11. You're learning how to just go out and play the game on instinct. That to me, I think, feels like it should be a positive.
Yeah, no, it definitely helped me in my career. I feel like I see those young goalies now, they're so structured and you look at them and they play so well. But sometimes that big save or your hockey sense is not as tested or evolved when you always rely on structure and body position. I think you have to do a little bit of everything, and then you can take whatever you want and make it in your toolkit.
Right. The game's just too dynamic to always, not every save can be perfect when the game is rarely perfect in front of us.
Every goalie is different too. Maybe some guys need more structure and some young goalies need more athleticism in his game. So I think it's good to not always have just one way, but practice a little bit of everything. Maybe not the two-pad stack roll, but having fun in practice once in a while, it's fun.
Well, so from starting at around 10, so that's probably around, I'm trying to think, like 6 years later, you're in the QMJHL with Victoriaville. Like that's a pretty quick transition. How did your game evolve? Was there a coach that helped you add structure over the years? Did it start once you got to Victoriaville? It's a little bit more of that type of coaching influence to get to where, I mean, I guess it's a long process, but how did it start at the beginning there?
I would say the first 4 years, it was just, like I said, having fun playing. I was watching goalies and, you know, it's just make like everything I can do to stop the puck. But it started when I was in midget AAA. So I had my first full-time goalie coach in midget. And so we were working, more like angle stuff and introducing more structure. And once I made the move in junior, my goalie coach I think he was good because he knew I was very athletic and, making the split save and everything. So he kept me going in that direction. But we talked about more structured, and we introduced, watching video for PK and watching my games and just making some adjustment to my game, which helped me to transition into the pro after.
And from there, you get drafted by the Islanders in 2008. Do you remember, was that for you, was that a go to the draft experience? What was your experience like with the NHL draft?
It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun in general. I didn't have the best year before my draft year in Victo. We just had a big year the year before, and it was a reconstruction year, so it was it was tough. But I was having 40 to 50 shots a game, and it was actually very good for my development to not be on a good team, so I can keep and having a lot of shots. I was playing a lot of games. But yeah, when I was drafted, I remember it was by the Anders and Sudsy. You know Sudsy?
I do know Sudsy, Sudarshan Maharaj, yeah.
Yeah, he was the goalie consultant for them, and I remember having some good conversation with him, and I remember he loved me as a goalie, so when they picked me, I was pretty happy to had the chance to work with Sudsy afterward.
Yeah, he's a past guest on the In Goal Radio podcast and one of our favorites. So that's awesome. I forgot about my brain didn't work on that connection. Transition into pro. Start in the minors, but you got a pretty quick taste of the NHL early on. Is that something where when you have that taste early on, do you feel like is it a good thing or can it be a bad thing when you get to the highest level right away? Some guys have to wait a long time. How did it play out for you, and how do you think it affected you moving forward?
For me, it was so. I started in Bridgeport. We were three goalies. We were doing the three goalie rotation. So one game you're playing, one game you're backing up, one game you're in the stands.
That's
so
tough.
It was literally like three goalie rotation. For me, I didn't mind it because it was my first year and it was going well. And then they decided Rolson was with the Islanders, DiPietro was there, and they decided to trade Rolly to Tampa Bay.
Yep.
So they brought the start in Bridgeport up with the Islanders. And Ricky got hurt, like I think 2 weeks later, and I made the move, and it started pretty well. And like I said, Sudsy was there, so he was helping me a lot with managing my game and be ready. But I got injured, so I had a knee surgery, so I played 12, 15 games, and then I had the surgery, missed the rest of the year. And then the next year I started back in Bridgeport and then they had three goalies on top, and we were three goalies in Bridgeport. But yeah, no, it was tough because I knew I could play in the NHL. Well, that's what I thought when I was younger. Like looking back, I was like, now I'm like, I should have been in the American League and playing more game and maybe work more on a couple things.
But when you had it's understandable, right? Because like I said, like you had a 924 your first year in the NHL. Like I think anybody that goes up there and has that success, you're automatically gonna think, hey, I'm ready for this. And yet, like we said, there's all kinds of lessons that are a part of that path.
Yeah, but not gonna lie, my knee injury slowed me down. It took I was 6 months out, so I came back during the summertime, but I didn't feel good for a year at least. Just like moving well on the ice and being pain-free. So that took like half of the next year out, but I still got a couple of games here and there, even though we were six goalies. Yeah, I think it was a rough second year in general, but Sudsy was still there, and then the next year he left, and it was a lockout year after that.
And so things start to things change in the organization. You're there a few more years. After you left, you played a year in Stockton, and then started to move around a little bit. What was was it frustrating that you didn't get more of a shot in the NHL at any period there? What were some of the decisions to maybe head overseas as well?
Well, my last year I started with the Islanders, and they sent me down, so I had to go through waivers. And Tampa Bay picked me up because Vasilevsky was hurt. So I was there for a month and a half, didn't play one game, sent me down to Syracuse. They had their two young goalies, so they were playing them. And then I got traded to Stockton, and they had a couple of goalie. They had problem with the goalies, injuries and stuff up in Calgary. So I played the rest of the year there. It was pretty fun. It was a good spot, but I was just sick of moving around and having a family, and I wanted something more stable, and I was not that close anymore to playing the NHL, so I just decided to go play in Russia.
And what was that experience like? Like I said, was there when you look back at it now, is it frustrating? It just feels like we're never in maybe the right spot at the right time to get the right opportunity. You kept getting stuck in three goalie rotations. Like, is there any frustration about that, or do you look back at it differently now? Like, it just felt like looking at it, it's like, oh man, like if he's on a different team, he's playing, but he's stuck in this one and there's three, and that's not easy when you don't get to play.
Yeah, and when I got during the lockout year, I moved. I was with the Islanders most of the remaining of the season, and I started with the Islanders the year after. So I mean, I had my shot, and what like we didn't do well. We had our team was in we were bottom of the standing, and we were struggling for wins. So I think it was hard mentally, and so yeah, when you don't win, sometimes it goes quick to the other goalies, and if the goalie is not winning, then you go to another one. So it's part of being a goalie as well. It's a tough business, and there's only like I said, there's only two spots on the team. So sometimes it's the right time at the right spot at the right time, and I had my chance, and it wasn't working in Long Island. I wish I could have maybe had another shot somewhere else, but at the same time, it's like that for everyone. So I was not frustrating to go in Russia. I was actually pretty excited for that new adventure, and go play in Europe and experience something else. And playing Russia was something else.
Well, you played Russia, and then in the EBUG, and then in Switzerland as well. You played for Canada at a Spengler Cup and won there. Like, what was the European experience like for you? You mentioned family. Did you have family with you at the time, or were you alone at that point?
No, the family came over every year. I was signing, but my first year was in Russia. I had to adjust to the bigger ice, and it took me time. Not gonna lie, it was a lot different. I struggled a little bit at the beginning, but I managed to play well at the end, and they they wanted to re-sign me, and but they were keeping the other goalies, and I wanted to play more, and I knew the Olympics were coming, and they were talking about having guys playing in Europe. So I signed in Zagreb when they were in the Austrian league, just to stay ready, and then after that I signed in Switzerland.
Well, I was wondering about that. How much of those decisions to stay over there was about the first Spengler Cup, but then ultimately the chance to play for the Olympics, to wear the Canada jersey at an Olympic stage, and to win a medal. What was that experience like, and was that part of the reason you stayed in Europe?
It was to not resign with Russia. Long story short, I played for the Kazakh team, and they when you play there for a couple of years, they give you a passport, and so I didn't want to. I wanted to keep my Canadian passport, so that's why I left. And but it was pretty late, and as a goalie, there's only two spots, and especially import goalies, it's pretty tough to sign some at some places because they already have their goalie. So that's why I signed in Zagreb, it was like a week by week contract until I find something else. But it was, so I signed in Switzerland, and then there was the Olympics. It was an amazing experience just wearing Team Canada, being with Canadian athletes in the Olympics. I knew about a lot of other athletes, Michael Kingsbury, Tessa Virtue. We all work out at the same gym in Montreal. So it was pretty fun to be there with them and, playing hockey. The hockey schedule is pretty busy though. It's from the start to all the way to the finish. So, but it was fun. It was fun to be able to have the chance to play for a medal. And people don't understand because it's usually, it's the superstars that go for Team Canada. It's Team Canada's, they always win or they're always in the final. But that year, it was like every country was pretty much even. We saw it this year. It's tougher than it looks to, win a medal when the field is even.
Where's the medal? I gotta ask, where is it? Got a special place? Is it on display? Is it?
It's at my house. We have like a little. They gave a little box with it, with the Pyeongchang logo and everything, and you open it and it's all folded in there. So yeah, with the Team Canada jersey as well that I wore. So it's and I still have the gear too in the basement.
Oh, nice. So it's like gonna make a little setup at one point, like a little display of your Olympic gear? I love it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna, once I retired, I'll do a little basement. I have 2 boys, so we'll put all the jerseys and equipment and sticks and mask. I'm big on keeping my mask, so I have all my masks since I was in junior. So yeah, it's a pretty good collection.
Oh, that's awesome! I can't. One day you're gonna have to share that. When you get to that point, we're gonna need to see a picture when you ultimately get it put together, because I'm guessing that will just look spectacular.
Yeah, I will send you a picture for sure.
The ultimate backdrop for Zoom. Hopefully, we're not still in a Zoom world by then. So you played one more year in Europe and then you came back. What was the thinking? Obviously, you still want to keep still playing and still playing well. What was the thought process of? You went back and forth. You went back to Sweden again for your last season, but I'm guessing if that was pandemic related. Like, it's been such a weird world for goalies, and jobs can be so hard to come by. What's the mindset the last couple of years?
Right before the pandemic, I was working out. It was August, and I tear my Achilles tendon completely. So so that's in August. So I didn't come back till, I'd say, November, December. I signed with Grand Rapids PTO, go back on the ice. Bernier was injured. He came back, they released me, and then I signed with Ontario. But that was it was another tough recovery from injury, moving around. And I remember doing 2-on-1s and I couldn't push to the other side almost. I was just so weak. But then the pandemic hit, and I remember Sweden, they called my agent right away, and they're like, hey, we need a goalie. It was in the Allsvenskan, so the second league. They were trying to go back up in the SHL, so they were having a good budget and they were making a good team. So I said, hey, why not? Like, it's the pandemic there is a little more relaxed, with the mask, and the restaurant were open and the malls and stores. So I said, yeah, why not? It's going to be better for my family, and, I can go and play hockey and be sure. So, but it was a pretty good experience. It was up north though, so you don't see the sunlight too much during the winter time.
Now and then back this year with Laval, and reunited with Marco, who you said you've worked 4 or 5 years with, and having a really good season. What's the mindset at this point? Just keep going because you're playing well. I mean, I think the last time I looked was like rolling a 926 in the American Hockey League, which is not easy to do, especially the AHL right now with players in and out. It's become quite a scrambly and difficult league for goalies, especially established veteran goalies who, you talk about the importance of reads. I would imagine that as the play gets a little more sort of scrambly, it's harder to sort of trust those reads. In some way, the game's probably easier at the NHL level based on those reads.
Well, for me, I decided to sign back with Laval because it was my hometown, and I have two young boys, but they're getting older. So I think it was time for me to come back in North America, and Laval was looking for a fifth goalie at the moment, to a veteran goalie to be there if there's any injuries or problem. And with COVID, it was just a matter of time. And so started the season in the East Coast with Trois-Rivières. And I mean, talking about reads, that's another story down there. That's all it is.
That's a tough one for goalies, eh?
It's so scrambly, and I was like, oh my God, it was my first experience in the East Coast, so I had to adjust. But then we had a couple injuries and COVID hit, so I was back in Laval, and just working with Marco, he makes it so much simple and easy. So for me, I'm just, all right, like I said, like, what you need to be successful is just be ready, have good reads, and just tracking, and compete. That's a big thing too.
Does it take 12 years to get to that simple? Like, as easy as you make it sound, there's probably a lot of young guys that are like, it can't be that easy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he knows my experience, so sometimes maybe he keep it simple because he doesn't have to elaborate on this or that. So he knows I've been in that situation. But I mean, he's a great goalie coach. He goes above and beyond for his goalies, and so no, it's fun. It's fun to work with him and Prime too. It's we have a good group of goalies working together.
Last one. How old are your boys? Like, are they at an age now where they can appreciate what dad does a little bit more? Like getting to see you play in front of the hometown in Laval. Like what's that? It's got to be a pretty neat experience.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. My oldest one he's 8. He just turned 8 last weekend. And my youngest, he's 5.
So they know what dad does now. They understand. They're old enough to sort of understand this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The whole school knows what I'm doing.
So now the question becomes, do they play or will they be allowed to be goalies? Well, just like you asked your dad and he looked at you funny. What's going to be that look?
Yeah, I think my oldest one, he wants to be a goalie next season. And I'm trying to slow him down. I'm like, hey, you got to, it's good to be a D so you can understand the game from another angle, not, just be a goalie. But hey, if he's happy to be a goalie, he'll be a goalie. And I'll try to teach him a couple tricks. But let him make his mistake as well.
Hey, last one. This goes way back to earlier in the interview, but I meant to ask it when you mentioned it, and then we started talking about Sudsy, and I got sidetracked. But you talked about that last year in junior before you got drafted, and you had a good team the year before, but it was a down year, and you said that it was good for your development to be on a bad team, so a team where you saw lots of shots. And I just wanted to pick at that thread a little bit because I actually had a Russian goaltender tell us recently that that's one of the things they do in Russia, that they put really good goalies on bad teams at young ages so they can have that experience. Do you see some value there in terms of, maybe if we're always on good teams, we don't learn as much as we might if we're stuck behind a team that's giving up a ton of shots and a ton of chances?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for your game and it's good for your head as well because you can, you create like a shell, or you get strong mentally as well. Because if it's always easy, then you experience struggle at the beginning of your pro career. Then it's something new. If you go back in junior and you struggle and you have 40 shots, 50 shots, or you're like, yeah, I've been in that situation. I know what to do, and just keep going and keep playing. For me, the biggest thing was when I was with a good team and only having 20 shots. It was like, oh, what's going on here? Like, I need more shots to be stay in the game. But it's not as bad. Not a big trouble actually.
Did you have to make some adjustments? Because that's another one we see a lot. Like, it's hard sometimes. Everybody, if you're not a goalie and someone tells you, hey, like less shots should be easier, and you're a goalie and you're like, no, not always, but nobody else believes us. It's hard.
Yeah, we should have extra stats for dangerous shots, and so to see what's really, because sometimes you can have a shot from outside the zone and it's right in the middle and it's an easy shot, but
it's like warm up.
Yeah, but if you have 20 shots and you have 12 grade A chance, then it's a tough game. But for me, I think when I have I wouldn't say easier now, but less shots, it's just I like to skate around. I like to play the puck a lot. Just keep me in it. Yeah, just be ready whenever they enter the zone and beat the pass and be there. And if I'm there, if they have nothing to shoot, sometimes they don't shoot. So. But yeah, no, for me it's just really just to focus on what I can do, and if they shoot the puck or not, it's up to them.
Kevin, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I can't believe 12 years in the league and I haven't had a chance to meet you before this. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed meeting you the other day. Really appreciate your time today. All the best the rest of the season, and thanks so much for being a part of the In Goal Radio podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Just an interesting, honest conversation. is the way that I would describe that. Little back and forth. And you teed it up going into it about readiness as the puck approaches the blue line and comes into the zone, and how Kevin's changed his approach there. I'm curious, if you're standing on your goal line, back touching or right near the crossbar, when do you leave your crease to get ready? Is there an industry, a positional standard? Is it at the other team's blue line where you start to come out and then you have to slide left or right if they make a cross ring pass? Is it at the red line? Is it just as they approach the blue line? I'm genuinely curious here, Woody.
Well, I would think, as we learned from Kevin Poulin, that if it's when they cross the blue line, you're probably a little too late, right? Like that. Right. I think that's the first rule. And I don't know if there are any absolutes. Like, there are no absolutes in goaltending, really. And I think it would probably depend on, for the most part, how you play. Like, if you're a guy that comes out and then retreats because it's a rush chance, then you probably need to be out a little early. For me, for example, and not that anyone should ever use me as an example for anything when it comes to goaltending, but my mindset is usually, as it's approaching center, I'm sort of at the top edge of my crease and sort of establishing a position on where it enters into the blue line so I can be set. And then if it comes down the wall, I just sort of try and track down and sort of stay on it on the same side. If there's a pass, I'm set and ready for it. Just, I don't know, ready and on it early. But I kind of agree with Kevin that if you're in the zone, if it's in the zone before you're in that position, there's a good chance you're behind and all it takes is one quick pass and you're chasing a little bit.
Hutch, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a level of awareness when the puck is anywhere in the rink. Do you guys ever get to those extremes when you're young kids? Well, Kevin, you didn't start till you're in your 30s, but Darren is a young kid. I remember
exactly what you're going to say. You're always
following
ready.
the puck everywhere on the ice. Yeah,
exactly. I knew exactly what you were going to say. Yeah.
And I've seen kids when there's a face-off at center ice or even at the far end, in the ready position as if there might be a shot right off the draw from the other end. Relax. Be aware of what's happening when the puck is in the other end of the ice. For me, I think of it as half ready as it's crossing center ice, ready for something to happen. But then I always encourage that when the puck crosses the blue line, you're ready to make a save at any time. And that might mean that you're in a stance that's a little taller and a little more relaxed as it crosses the blue line, but you're basically ready for whatever happens. And I think there's a read there as well for what's happening as the puck crosses the blue line, for how prepared you are, whether you're fully ready for save execution or not. But that's sort of been my guideline. I don't know that I've ever thought of when I leave the goal line. In that respect, guys, I got to get back on the ice now and have the wheels turning as I'm out there.
Like I said, to me, it's like top edge of the crease or maybe heels on the edge of the crease, depending on whether we're looking at an odd man rush or a pure rush situation. But I think that's the one thing I never said that I probably should have made clear. I'm not in a save execution I'm not in a save stance as that happens. I'm in a pretty narrow upright stance, even as it crosses the blue line, because I feel like if I'm ready and on that puck early as it crosses the blue line, even if they shoot as they cross, you can react out of a high, tall stance easily. Like, it's not really in the danger zone at that point as it crosses into the blue line. But so that when I say ready, I don't mean I'm in save execution stance. I'm just sort of paying attention on the puck and ready to move.
I'm the Ken Dryden stance, like leaning on my stick. Yeah.
As it comes into the zone. That might explain a few things.
Yeah.
I'm not tall enough.
Might explain a few things.
I'm going to buy a Bauer Hyperlight just so I can do that.
Yes, you will. You'll feel amazing, like so confident and tall and big and intimidating.
I tried so hard as a kid. My stick would be about 6 feet out in front of me just so that I could sort of angle it just right so I could lean on top of my stick.
And then you got put too much weight on it and you fall flat in your head.
Well, I still do that when I'm coaching. I literally cut my stick for coaching just so that I can do that. It has nothing to do with how I handle the puck or shoot the puck. It's, can I lean on it properly while coaching?
You're so vain. Woody's supposed to be that guy in this podcast.
Yeah.
You guys and your old Ken Dryden leaning on the stick stories. And here I am, the young guy, and I've just got it tattooed all over my left arm.
Yeah. That's awesome. This has been great. Taylor was incredible. Kevin, fascinating story, and I love how he's still learning and still soaking up the knowledge of the game. And the SLR3 line, some real exciting stuff coming out of that conversation about what their gloves have always been amazing. I've always loved them, but to hear the progress in the pads is also pretty good. See, Woody, you got me going on this now, and I blame you for that, for being a smart aleck. He's holding up his hands. There's only so much I can do. What's going on over at the site right now?
We got some pro reads coming up every week. We went back to Curtis McElhenney for his last pro read last week. We had part 2, and there'll be more coming. And some really good feedback, actually, on our series with Seamus Kotick of the Buffalo Sabres and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. A lot of sort of, basic crease movement patterns, 5 pucks, 4 pucks set up around various areas of the crease, and just, some ideas that, I thought it's refreshing sometimes. We get a little too complicated with the drills. These are nice and simple. They can be applied if you're like a new goaltender just starting out, whether it's beer league, adult, or just a kid getting started in the crease, or as we see, a top prospect like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. These drills have relevance. And so I love that this is a series where simple movement patterns apply at every level. And so part 2 of that is already on the site at ingoalmag.com, and part 3 will be coming out this week. We're going to mix it up a little bit with some unique warm-up drills this week. And yeah, I look forward to sharing that with everyone else. And again, thanks Seamus Kotick for being so open and sharing these things with the rest of us. His goal all along was to help goalies, especially the younger ones, see some of these examples of the work pros do and how it can be done at every level. And I think he's accomplished that nicely with the way he walks us through these drills.
I'll leave you with this story. And I think that there's some lesson here, or maybe some inspiration to draw from here for older goaltenders or professional goaltenders. I was watching a 10-year-old game, not a 10-year-old game, but a group of 10-year-olds that were playing in a tournament before I went into the studio today. And the goaltender in the final made this sliding save with his glove just in the second period, but it was a great save. And he got up and he chest bumped both of his defensemen. And I thought that is the coolest thing. One goalies never really celebrate a save. They're keep it cool. But he just jumped right up and chest bumped both of his defensemen, and then they went and dropped the puck again. And I thought that was neat. And I don't know whether Woody, you do that or not. You would want to get chirped or somebody shooting at your head, but I think it'd be cool.
Hey, listen, to me, that goes back to Marc-Andre Fleury and the lesson we got from him years ago. And we keep hearing it apply to a lot of different guys. You got to have fun out there. We see Fleury having fun in Minnesota. What did Kevin Poulin talk about? Having fun, right? Like rediscovering that fun part of the game. And we can do all the technical drill work we want. We can focus on it. We can do mental skills training. We can do all these things. But man, it's such a great position. If you don't find a way to enjoy it, there's probably something wrong in the equation. So try and make sure you keep that smile on your face no matter how it's going out there, and even if that means mixing in the odd chest bump.
Let me know how it goes. If you want to do it, you listening out there, send me an email at, where do we send the emails, Hutch?
podcast@ingoalmag.com.
I know the ingoalmag.com. I always forget about the podcast part. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it, Taylor, Kevin, of course, Cam, and you, the listener, on In Goal Radio, the podcast.